Hi, everybody. Welcome to HCCLA's Reasonable Doubt, along with my host, Justin Harris. Hello.
I'm temporary fill-in host.
Well, and with
Just to say that.
our temporary fill-in host, Justin Harris. I am Jay Julio Vela, along with a very, very, very special guest today, Adia Jones, running for the Harris County District Attorney's Office on the Democrat side. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful.
How's your day been?
It's been great. Busy, eventful.
You know, I have seen you, out of all the candidates, I have seen you the most on the social media, on the block walking, on the kind of grassroots.
Yes.
I've seen that. That must be exhausting.
It's exhausting, but I think it'll be worth it. I think it'll be worth it. Having worked in the DA's office, I think we need a change, so.
You came in pretty early in the race. I think you were the first person to put in against ADA Ogg.
Yes.
And was that something that...
She's not ADA.
Pardon me, the DA. I meant like a DA Ogg. The DA Kim Ogg.
Yes.
You put in really, really early. Talk to me about the decision to come in early, and was that something that you said, you know what, I'm just going to come in early and do it, or was versus maybe coming in midstream to see who kind of jumps in and how it works out? What was your thought process behind getting right out in front?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. Initially, when I left the office, I was never thinking about running. Like the day I left, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It had just really gotten so bad. I was just like, I can't be a part of this anymore. So I think it was almost maybe about a month or a month and a half later when I decided to run. I think it was during the time with the 100 prosecutor ask for $20 million, because it was not too long after that. It might have been a day or two after that. But, you know, when I did make up my mind to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to run for district attorney, obviously I'm running against somebody who is an incumbent, who has a name, whose family has political ties. I think what we've seen is a new wave of individuals who feel like if someone isn't doing the job correctly, you can take a chance and run for yourself, but you know, it's important to remember she's going to have that special interest money. She's going to have that backing money. So it's going to be people versus money, and how better to get our message across as far as what we're trying to change than to get out early. That's
one of the things that everyone's talking about is how does anyone expect to go up against the pockets, the big war chest that Kim Ogg has? Yeah. What makes you think you can beat that?
Yeah, so you know, I think it's important for people to remember money is not votes, right? I think that's the bottom line. Money does not equal votes. I think money equals money. You get your name out, but she's done that a lot on her own with a lot of the negative publicity that she's received, a lot of the things negatively that have gone on within the office since she's gotten in there. But again, it's the people who decide in Harris County, and it's the people who are going to vote. And across the country, not even just here in Harris County, we've seen people who don't have the money, right? We know people that have literally been waitresses and are now congressional representatives, you know, so it's about the people, and if the people are behind the message and the people approve it, and that's what I'm fighting for, the everyday people that are being hurt by our criminal justice system.
Well, may I ask a question? So it sounds like you... I remember the day after you left the office.
Oh, okay.
Like it was yesterday, because it was, wait, Adia's gone? What?
I know.
So
like they lost a good warrior there.
Yeah.
But it sounds like part of why you left is why you ran, or why you're running. Is that right?
If I understand you correctly.
You said, I thought you said, and I'm not cross-examining you.
No, you're fine.
But I took that lawyer hat off.
I have seen Justin cross-examine people.
You said I couldn't deal with, I didn't like what was going on in the office or something, and I had to leave that or something.
Yeah. You want me to explain a little?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it was a combination of both, right? I think since we're on a show that's with majority attorneys, and I'm sure a lot of our attorney friends are watching, you know, there was a lot of stuff internally that was going wrong, that had gone wrong since she had gotten in there. You know, when we talk about leadership, I think it's important for a lot of people that either know or don't know the district attorney's role is an executive leadership role. You know, we have so many people that are like murder trials. Have you tried a million, you know, but it's really an executive leadership role. Is the morale up? Is it, the body follows where the head goes. And if the head's going somewhere wrong, the body's going to follow it as well. So it was something even coming in, when our current DA got in the seat, before she got in there, she fired 40 people. Right, and not just any 40 people. We had 40 of the most senior level people in the district attorney's office, and I believe it was a combined 685 years of experience that they had literally just gotten rid of. Number one, without even seeing if they were willing to assimilate to the new program that was coming in. Number two, without doing any type of evaluation as far as how their past performance was. And number three, when you get rid of that type of or group of people with that amount of years of knowledge, you're really getting rid of people who are institutionally know about the processes and procedures within the district attorney's office, and you essentially dig out the roots from under the tree.
What do you think makes a good district attorney?
Yeah, so I think it's somebody that's a good leader, right? It takes leadership. I mean, really, that's what that role is. You're not going in there on a day-to-day basis. I saw you in court. We've handled cases together, and you're a great attorney. I've handled cases with you, Justin, and you're a great attorney as well. But they're not the ones that are in court day-to-day. They're the ones that are creating the bright line policies and rules and policies and procedures that govern, how are the assistant district attorneys interacting with the defense attorneys? How are they offering sentencing? What are their plea agreements? What type of cases are they, are we going to be accepting? What type of programs are we going to be offering? Are there going to be fees associated with the pretrial diversion programs? So all of those things, it's really a leadership role.
Let's talk about some of the feelings that are going on at the district attorney's office. They are scared that half of them are going to get let go again, or there's going to be another big sweep. And a lot of them have asked me, ask her what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So do you have anything to say to that, or can you speak to that as to if in the event that Adia Jones is the district attorney for Harris County, does the office need to worry about another cleanup?
Okay. And my first answer is no. No, not right away. I mean, you guys know me well enough, and it's funny that it's ironic that I'm sitting here with the two of you guys. One of the things that I've always prided myself on is standing by my word. I always stand on my word. So the first thing I want to say is no, we are not going to have a massive sweep. I remember sitting in my office and literally having people run by my door on the day that I believe they called it Bloody Friday.
Right.
Within the first 100 days, what I do want to do is have literally an individual meeting with every single person that works in the district attorney's office. I'm talking about from the janitors to the administrative assistants to the people who are the most senior in the office, but literally do a one-on-one meeting and just get their own viewpoints on what they believe. Obviously, we're coming in with a different perspective, one that the current district attorney promised but failed to deliver. And we will do evaluations after 30, 60, 90 days to figure out, is this something that people can get on board with, or if they feel like they may fit better somewhere else. But we will absolutely not be doing a sweep before coming in or coming in.
But I mean, there has to be some people who go.
There has to be?
Right?
According to who?
Oh.
I mean, you got it as a good leader. I mean, what kind of morale, what kind of example are you setting when you just terminate somebody just because? There's no basis. Right? Absolutely no basis. And the thing is, if we have individuals who are sitting in the office who say, I did certain things because of the leadership. I was afraid that I might have gotten fired. I remember sitting in the trenches with those same people. And there were days where they came to me and they were like, I've had people that, that may have been higher up in the office that were like, Adia, what do you think? Should I do this? And I'm like, I don't think you should. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror. I get it. We have to earn a paycheck and you have to do certain things, but this should never compromise, someone being a human being.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, there are people who may, prosecutors who may be living check to check or who need that health insurance. But to just say I'm going to go ahead and cut somebody because I had an issue with them before without giving them an opportunity to show how their work performance is, I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't plan to do that.
Let's talk about that. Do you see an internal culture shift that you're trying to create, or you're trying to develop?
Absolutely.
Talk to us about that and the
Absolutely.
changes that you see.
Yeah, I mean, we have it.
Well, look,
go ahead.
sorry.
go ahead.
When did you start working in the district attorney's office under DA Ogg, or who did you start under?
Yeah, I came in under Devin Anderson.
As you answered JB's question, can you maybe fold in kind of some differences that you saw between the offices and then your vision, if that works? Answer it
no,
however.
I mean, I think that works. I think that's a good question. I mean, I came in under DA Anderson, and of course, I was there when she lost her seat to the current district attorney. So previous to the current district attorney, you know, when I came in, it was I will say honestly ran like a well-oiled machine. I wasn't really, you know, familiar with the politics behind it or the numbers, as far as, you know, and we can talk about that, just the number of people that we have sitting in the Harris County Jail every day and how much the district attorney actually affects that. So I was really new to the whole scene, and it did run well, you know, but, you know, we always had a culture of cliques. We had a lot of cliques. You know, that was one big thing. We had a lot of cliques. There were certain things that I saw where we had, you know, we would have prosecutors and defense attorney interactions that I didn't always agree with, and I would always just take a mental note and say, hey, I would never, how do I want, you know, people to view me? What do I want my reputation to be? Do I want to use underhanded techniques? You know, those are things I saw in both administrations, you know, and not saying that it's an easy job to be a district attorney, because you can't control every single thing. We have, you know, 300 something prosecutors, you know, their behavior every day, but there are certain things we condone that we don't condone. There were certain policies that I didn't agree with under District Attorney Anderson. But again, as far as the way it was run, it ran well. We had, you know, we had a level of, I'm trying to find the word. We had a level of, what's the word? The way the higher-ups carried themselves, you know, is very respectful. And we had a lot of respect for them, even to this day, a lot of respect for the higher-ups under that administration. And then we'll say fast forward to the new administration, right? And I was very excited as far as the new changes that the current district attorney said she was going to bring regarding the people that we were prosecuting on a day-to-day basis. So I was excited about that. But what I quickly realized is we had absolutely zero leadership. We had nobody to follow. We had individuals that had been let go that, again, those 40 people, I mean, morale was crushed before, you know, she even took office. And then following that, it was, you know, we're not going to keep reports anymore. And then it followed by, you know, we had one of the upper level management people was accused of sexual harassment.
Sure.
In a division that I was actually in and pregnant in at the time, and someone had let me know that some disturbing information about information they were sharing about my pregnancy. And so, you know, we saw this shift of leadership now where there was absolutely nobody in charge, right? Where we had a district attorney by name only, and it seemed like the upper administration was kind of, they were all fighting for top power. And so, you know, with that, then you had people that were coming in that were new, and that's why she ended up with, and this is my belief, this is why she ended up with the highest turnover rate in the history of district attorneys in Harris County. We had people that wouldn't stay. We had new assistant district attorneys that weren't getting trained, that really didn't have much to look up to, and it just, the culture was horrible.
How do you anticipate it as district attorney changing that or implementing your vision, and what would that vision be?
Yeah, so one of our biggest vision is to create forward thinkers, right? I don't want to create a district attorney's office where we have individuals where we only give them a piece of information and just hope that they, you know, keep them entrapped in the district attorney's office forever. We want to create more leaders. Good leaders create more leaders, not a ton of followers, right? And so what that looks like is for our upper management, I want to actually send them away to receive training. We have a lot of chiefs that really did not know how, you know, they were great with trying cases, but when it came to giving guidance as far as how to interact with defense attorneys, how to be professional in a courtroom setting, how to even try a case, a lot of times did not understand that leadership training. But I want to send our upper management to leadership training week, right? So like we did that new baby prosecutor school. We need to send our leaders first. It starts with our leaders, and that includes the upper level division directors, that includes our chiefs of our courts, chiefs of the felony courts, chiefs of the misdemeanor courts. They need to be equipped with the tools that they need to be leaders as well.
Who provides, there's a training?
Yeah, well, we've already spoken with outside organizations that we could team with that would provide the training for leadership.
Do you anticipate keeping, so there's already, you know, there's district court chiefs and there's division chiefs. obviously, if you are district attorney, I anticipate that you'd have ideas as to who your upper management's going to be. But there's already a big group of people in place.
Yes.
How do you plan on? Do you see yourself restructuring the office in any way, and if so, how? And how from this group do you anticipate choosing these leaders that to guide your office?
Yeah, so I think every decision should be made after evaluation, right? I think the best decisions are made when they're informed decisions, especially as attorneys. That's what we're taught to do. We're not taught to make knee-jerk decisions. So again, our biggest play will be to keep everything in order. Like I said, within the first 100 days, I will be meeting with every single person that works in the Harris County District Attorney's Office, whether you do the least and you handle legal issues or you don't, to the people who are at the top. So, you know, what we do is you do an evaluation. Again, a 30, 60, 90-day period when we're saying, okay, this is what we're looking for in good leaders. Is this person exemplifying it? Are they showing that they can train new ADAs coming in? Are they showing that they have a professional mentality?
When Kim Ogg came in, she took her upper brass. A lot of them came from outside of the office, right? And so they came in, and you know, they're defense attorneys, or they're not part of the group, and they're coming in and they're giving orders top down. Do you anticipate looking for leaders within your group, or do you have an idea of doing what District Attorney Ogg did, is bringing in people from outside? What's your plan? What's your thought?
You're just asking like the same question 3 different ways. Is your resume in your pocket? Like, you can give it to her now.
Well,
so I don't know what the angle is here.
Justin hasn't changed at all.
So in
married or not, has not changed.
I'm looking to be.
Right.
No. Do you plan on pulling using the pool that you have now? Or are you bringing some people, or do you have thoughts on bringing some outsiders, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's a great question. I know we have some great people. We have some wonderful people that are in the office, and we also have wonderful talent that's outside of the office. So it will be a combination of both. I think it's important to look first internally. That's on my own personal preference, just to see, you know, do we have people that exemplify what we're looking for? You know, when you're right. When you know, the current district attorney came in, she brought in a ton of outsiders. She completely changed up the policies, the procedures. Like literally, you know, if you could do a 180, that was the biggest 180 I had seen that completely disrupted the way the whole district attorney's office flowed. And when you don't have a cohesive structure internally, it's gonna flow externally. And so one of the biggest things we saw, we had the sexual harassment accusation from one of her higher level managers, and he was never terminated. It was a simple slap on the wrist. We had another individual that was over the white collar crimes. I believe he might have been there for a month, possibly. And he was literally escorted out by investigators. And nobody to this day would say what happened. But again, you don't want to disrupt the policies and procedures and the processes so much that now we have low to no morale in the office, and then we're back to where we are now, which is the highest turnover rate.
What do you think we keep talking about morale, what do you think the single biggest thing that's either causing a loss of morale or that you can do to raise morale? You can pick whichever one you want to answer.
I mean, I think it really goes to the leadership. I told you, you know, having been in there is absolutely no leadership. And I've spoken with people that I was actually mentors for that worked in the district attorney's office who told me, you know, there were some issues with, you know, they said that there was a specific higher level manager that was changing the scores on evaluations of the black prosecutors. And I believe that person's still in there. So this is not something that's made up. These are individuals that told me that. You know, I didn't personally experience that, but that was something multiple prosecutors told me. Said, hey, you know, they changed my evaluation scores because I'm black. And you know, from my understanding, when the current district attorney got wind of it, it was, hey, let me go offer them a promotion and cover it with a Band-Aid. You know, you will get what you give.
I heard that. I heard about that.
Yeah. You will get what you
definitely heard
give.
about that.
You will get what you give. And if you're a leader and you're supposed to look out for the people that are working for you, you're supposed to equip them with the tools that is necessary. And if she's not equipping them with the tools necessary to be successful, she's putting leadership in there that's weak, that is discriminating against people that work in there, and you're not looking out for their best interest, I mean, you're not going to have a steady level of morale.
Do you have ideas for a first assistant?
I don't yet. I don't.
Nice.
And I actually want to do.
No, I'm not trying to be the first assistant. No, so you got
You're supposed
ideas
to say,
for it
like,
or what?
I nominate JV Vela.
No,
The first thing we're doing, our complete focus is working through the primary, right? So we have
Sure.
early voting coming up February 18th through the 28th.
When?
February 18th through the 28th is early voting.
All right.
So it's very soon. I believe the early ballots go out or mailed out January 18th. And then we have primary voting day, which is March 3rd. So like 1,000% of my focus, along with my team, is completely on continuing our people-powered campaign.
It's pretty amazing that. Who do you think that for me, the social media presence that you have? I think you're completely dominating the field. It could be because I'm following you, but I'm following everybody, and it just seems that the message is constantly getting out with you.
Right.
And for me, that means that young people are getting in, that it reaches these young people. And I guess I'm not that young anymore, but I haven't seen that with the other candidates. And who do you think's coming out to vote for you? Do you have an age demographic? Do you have are you riding the wave on a certain group? Or, I mean, sure, I'd imagine you're going to say everyone, but do you really feel a presence that who's going to really make an impact in this election? Is there a group that you think that's really coming out or surprising you?
Yeah. Surprising me, no. I will say, I intentionally made things transparent. I think, the biggest thing we've seen with a lot of positions, specifically the district attorney, is a lack of transparency. And, not even just this current district attorney, just everyone. A lot of people are like astounded when I tell them what the district attorney's role is. That, at the Harris County District Attorney's Office, we have an intake division that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's how charges are accepted. I think there's a level of transparency that we owe to the public, and that's who we're supposed to be serving in this elected position. And, the way you start is the way you finish, and that's the way I play the game. So, and when I say play the game, I'm a former basketball player, so a lot of my terms go with that. But, the way you start is the way I carry through, and I think it's important to show that. So to answer your other question, who are the people that I'm surprised about? I will say it's the people who have been affected by the system, our everyday working class people who would never have an inside look at, the district attorney's office or the district attorney's role, or even me as a candidate for district. I have people that are like, "Oh my God, is it you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're regular people. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. We all bleed red if someone cuts us." And I think that's the thing we've had for so long with the district attorney. It's been so far out of touch. And it's really a role where we're dealing so much with the community. We have like the 9-to-5 working people. The moms are like, "Audia, thank you so much for what you're doing." People
This is when you're knocking on their doors.
This is when I'm knocking on their doors, and they're like, "Oh, where's, oh, that's good. Tell her I'll vote. I'll vote for her." And I'm like, "Oh, it's me." And they're like, you're at my door. They're like, "Can we take a picture?" And I'm like, "But this is what it is, right? Public official. You're a public servant." And so, the problem is for so long we haven't been serving the public. We expect the public to serve us. And I think it's time for a change. And that's the only way you're going to have a change is by doing things different from the very beginning.
Do you go to court?
Do I go to court? No.
As a district attorney?
No, I mean, here in Harris County, no, not at all. I think, we have the third largest county in the United States. Again, the district attorney's role in this large of a county, we don't handle things in court. We don't go to court. I know we've had instances where it's more of a, let me stand behind the podium for it to, so this newspaper can get a picture of me reading the probable cause. But we all know who does that. And it's usually the felony 3s or the misdemeanor 3s. But, no, it's not a court.
So that's one thing that's been interesting to me is I don't remember under any other administration seeing the division chiefs and the bureau chiefs in the courtrooms. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because usually when they're in there, it's because everything else is short-staffed, and they're just like, they literally need another set of hands. And so the chief of a division will come down and instead of running the division from their office, they're down there signing reset forms.
Yeah, and I think,
like sending requests for body worn camp.
I mean, I think that's a problem, right? I think that's a problem because it makes it difficult for them to do their jobs effectively, which then in turn is a domino effect. So it makes it difficult for everybody to do their job. I think we have a set guideline of roles and responsibilities, and we allow them to do their job effectively. Again, it goes back to being a good leader and understanding, hey, we have to do something to stop this turnover rate. We have to do something to stop this bleeding, and nothing's been done. So now that's why you have, in exchange, division chiefs coming down, and instead of spending time focusing on what they're supposed to focus on, they're doing the work of a misdemeanor 2 or a felony 2. So,
do you think the district attorney's office needs more prosecutors?
I don't think they need more prosecutors.
Because it's pretty famous about on this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you need is good leadership. I think the problem is if we were to say, do I think they're short-staffed? Absolutely. I think it needs to be some, recruiting done to fill those positions. But this is what I will say. This is why I was so against that request for 100 new prosecutors for $20 million. It's like putting water into a balloon that has a hole in it. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you're doing. Yeah. So, yeah, we're always going to be able to get people in. The problem is, can we keep them?
Right.
Well, we can't keep them because the culture is horrible. The leadership is terrible. There is absolutely no guidance, especially from the top person in the office. They're allowing their people that are supposed to be under them, but still leaders, they're over there fighting like cats and dogs to be in charge and doing things that are essentially illegal inside the office, discriminatory, and it's just not going to pan out well, and you're not going to have people that stay there. So you can get all the prosecutors you want, but they will not stay there.
So so you don't want more prosecutors, you want to fill the vacant seats.
Correct.
They are spread thin, those are my words, not yours. Mm-hmm. You think filling the vacant seats will solve the problem, or do you think that is there something that can be done in intake?
That's
where I'm just going to go.
Okay, we can go to intake. I know where you're going. I know where you're going. And so let me answer your first question first. Do I think we need more prosecutors at the state of under this administration? No.
I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm going to say. Under this administration, absolutely not. They've already shown that, again, as a district attorney, she has the highest turnover in the history of Harris County district attorneys, in the history. It is something where the problem's going to have to be fixed on a dual level when we have new leadership that comes in. So when we come in, we have to change the culture, change the leadership, make sure that we're getting people in there that are being good leaders, and you lead by example. You don't lead by degrading people. You don't lead by discriminating against people. So we're going to have to change the leadership. And then that's when you can go ahead and say, okay, well, we've created a solution for the hole in the balloon. Now it's time to fill it with water and maintain it from there.
Okay. So what's the biggest thing you do to stop the leak?
I'm right here.
Okay.
There she is.
I'm running.
But what are you going to do? What's the first thing you do when you go into? I know what you're going to do over the first 100 days. You're going to talk to everybody. But what's the first thing you do? What do you change on day one?
Well, and allow me to just dovetail with that. Is along that same, what do you feel is the greatest challenge of yours coming in?
Yeah.
What do I think is the greatest challenge? I think the greatest challenge is this shift in criminal justice reform that I'm talking about, right? I think it's not even going to be so much an internal issue. I think the issue is going to be the external. We're so used to the law and order way that we run things, right? We have people that are in jail disproportionately. I know both of you guys have handled misdemeanor cases. You've seen our holding cells. You've seen the Harris County Jail that disproportionately is filled with African Americans and Latinos, is disproportionately filled with individuals who are in there for nonviolent offenses. And it really goes back to my platform. I think it's going to be the outside pressures that are like, how are we going to let all the criminals out? And what they don't understand, these are individuals who haven't been charged yet. These are individuals who are in there simply because they can't afford to get out. We have people that are charged with murder. We have people that are charged with aggravated robbery. And if they have the money in their account, guess what? they've
out.
typically they've gotten out. They get out simply because they have the money in their account. So when you have a situation where you have individuals with this nonviolent offenses and they're getting stuck in jail, when they come out, what do you think eventually they're going to do? They're going to be destabilized. They're going to be off their feet, and eventually they may escalate to some even violent offenses to feed their family. I mean, I think all three of us sitting at the table have families, and if you start out with something nonviolent, but now you have a criminal record, you can't get educational assistance, you can't get an apartment, you can't get a house, you're turned down from jobs. I mean, everybody has to survive. So,
What's your solution to that then?
one of our biggest solutions is to look at decline to prosecute lists, looking at
What does that mean? Decline to prosecute list.
It means exactly what I said. We will decline to prosecute certain offenses. So one of the biggest things I came out with was possession of marijuana. Before the current district attorney stated that she was no longer prosecuting possession of marijuana under 4 ounces, that was one of the biggest things I had said on social media. I'm like, hey, we need to stop prosecuting possession of marijuana. And I gave specific reasons why. Number one, we have a 40% solve rate when it comes to murders in Harris County.
That's not very good.
That's not very good. You know, we also have statistics that show that blacks and Latinos are 6 times more likely to be arrested, convicted, and charged with the offense of possession of marijuana when it's used equally across the board with our white counterparts. And then, you know, lastly, we can be using law enforcement resources to target those violent offenders, right, to keep our community more safe. And we had an instance where the current district attorney she brought 2 cases against 2 officers to be no-billed after they had already been indicted 2 years earlier for sticking their fingers in a young lady's vagina looking for a piece of marijuana.
Right.
You know, those are things that we are, you know, we're not looking to perpetuate that. And those are the reasons why I say we do not need to prosecute possession of marijuana. Let's make our community safe.
Are there limits?
But that's already happening. So what else?
Yeah.
Prosecute? Sorry, JV.
No, you're fine. When we're looking at things like criminal trespass, right? A majority of people that are getting in there with criminal trespass are typically homeless or drug addicted or suffering from mental health issues. We're looking at different programs like there's one specific program that's going on across the country, and it's been working for the last 10 years to lower the numbers, which is implementing a cite and release program. So with the cite and release program, it's not just saying, okay, we'll give you a citation, goodbye, and we hope you're not homeless the next time we come around to you. It's, okay, we'll give you a citation in exchange for you self-admitting yourself into this mental health facility that we've decided to team with. Or this is in exchange for you not going or being incarcerated today, you can self-admit yourself into this drug rehabilitation program.
How do you make that work? Where's the money coming from? Where's the funding for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So again, we pay in taxpayer dollars, we pay $130 million a year running the Harris County Jail, which is the largest mental health facility in the state of Texas. So for anybody that doesn't know, that money is not falling from the sky. It's coming out of our pockets every time we pay tax dollars. So the same way that our current district attorney went in front of the commissioner's court and asked, you know, can I have this funding and it's going to be used for XYZ, that's what we intend to do, is go to county commissioner's court, which a lot of people don't know about that. You know, if you're not involved in politics, people are like, county commissioners, what are those?
They're the people that you should vote for.
Right, they're the people that control the purse strings. They control literally the entire budget for where the funding is going to go in Harris County. So that's what we do. We put together real facts, real numbers. We know our current district attorney had falsified some numbers that she presented to the Harris County Commissioner's Court, and that's documented. But we go in there with some stable facts. We go in there with organizations. We go in there with proof, and we go in there just as we've done, evidence-driven, to say, hey, let's put these resources towards these types of programs because we've seen it's working other places, and that's something we need to implement here, and we deserve to be on the leading end of change and not on the tail end.
Another nonviolent offense that you've been in the news about is prostitution.
Yes.
Now, there's a lot of rumors swirling around about what the limits are to that and what you really mean by that.
Yeah.
So how about you set the record straight? Are sex cases, not prostitution type cases, will you be prosecuting them? Will there be limits to the prosecution? Does it apply equally to Johns and not? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you're talking about how I said I was going to decriminalize sex work or not prosecute sex work, and what the literal charge is called prostitution, right? So you know, in coming to that decision, again, everything as a leader and what, you know, I start with, I practice with, that's what I intend to carry over into the office. Everything needs to be evidence and data driven. right? And keeping in mind what's our number one goal as district attorney is to make sure the community is safe, is to make sure when Justin's daughter goes outside with his wife that she's safe and that he doesn't have to worry about her when he's doing the show. Same thing with
I
you.
want to be safe.
Yeah, you want to be safe. Of course, you want to be safe. But remember, that's always our number one goal. So with that in mind and looking at the numbers, Harris County, well, Houston, Texas is the number one city in the United States for human trafficking. And if I have former colleagues out there watching, you'll recall there was a day that we had 2 administrative assistants, I believe, that went out for lunch and were almost snatched off the sidewalk in broad daylight. And we believed it had to have been tied to human trafficking. They sent out an email to office-wide and told us to go out in pairs and to beware of certain vehicles. We've had incidents on the news lately where they're saying don't park near padded vehicles or padded vans. And when you have things like that, and then when you have cases that come up where we have people that either voluntarily they've chosen to be sex workers, because we know the United States, the economy is not that easy. If you don't have an education, if you don't come from a background where you have opportunity, there are some people that believe, hey, this is my only way of making money. And when they're going forward to do that, and we have people that may be raping them, committing sexual violent offenses against them. And now we've marginalized them so much that we're criminalizing the victim and saying, okay, individuals who are doing this to them, you don't have to worry about that, because if they come in and report it, we're going to charge them with prostitution.
Right.
And so it's weighing, what's the cost loss benefit. And really, when we're saying what costs more, is it victimizing who could possibly be a victim? Because we know most people that may be on the streets as sex workers, or even, they're termed as prostitutes, but most people that may be seen, if an officer comes up to them, even if they have a pimp that's somewhere watching them, I mean, what's the likelihood of them saying, oh yeah, there's my pimp right there in the car?
Zero.
And I've sat down and I've been working with women and men who are actually been victims of human trafficking and have 4 stab wounds on their neck, have had their throats sliced by pimps, and had to go out and say, hey, I'm a sex worker. So we want to give a safe environment for individuals who are, in fact, victims of human trafficking. We've already been speaking with organizations that help victims of human trafficking literally relocate and get a new anonymous life. And those are organizations we want to team with to help get them back on their feet. But the people who choose to do sex work, I believe it's a public health concern and not a public safety concern.
Well, one of the at the courthouse, one of the questions that was posed was a lot of the ways that these individuals who are being sex trafficked are identified is through them getting arrested and then getting to court and then being interviewed by the human trafficking section and then offered this sort of deal if they were to cooperate and give up names. Me personally, I think that's a terrible way to do it, to be dealing with victims who are sex trafficked. However, when they brought that point up to me, I said, oh, that kind of makes a little bit of sense in the sense of if we're trying to relocate these individuals or help victims, identifying them is the first kind of stop. And whether or not, let me ask you this, do you think, I guess you've already answered it, is the district attorney's job really to treat this as a public safety concern, or is it really something else, a public health issue? Yeah. That was an issue of, and what do you say to that then? How are we supposed to identify individuals that are being sex trafficked, and is it even really the district attorney's job to be doing that?
Yeah, I want to say anything that deals with public safety is absolutely the district attorney's responsibility, right? When it's keeping the public safe. When we're the number one city in the United States, in the whole United States of America, and we're the number one hub for human trafficking, it's a problem. This is what I will say to that, what you just stated. Well, why don't we just continue to arrest these individuals, put them in jail, we'll incarcerate them, we'll give them an opportunity. Well, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. There was an article that was done by The Appeal, I believe the reporter's name was Kyra, where she got my take on why I was going to no longer prosecute sex work, and then she contacted the district attorney's office. You can look at the article where they specifically said from the district attorney's office, arresting and charging these individuals who are out there with sex work has done absolutely nothing, has helped has not helped at all. And that's information that came straight out of the district attorney's office. So we can't stand by as outsiders and say, well, why don't we continue doing the same thing when our own district attorney's administration has admitted, you know, us prosecuting them literally has done nothing to help. It's done nothing. So that's what I'll say with that.
Does it apply to Johns as well, or is it just sex cases and sex workers? I mean, there's a John and then there's a sex worker. And I guess I don't want to be. I mean, it could be. It could be vice versa. It could be.
Yeah, I mean, look, it includes the Johns until there is some type of violent offense.
Sure.
Until there is some type of violent offense or sexual offense. Again,
kids
kids, absolutely, absolutely. But it provides that safe space, that opportunity for them to come in, and we do intend to have organizations that will be outreach in the programs. I mean, we know the areas. I'm sure if I asked you right now, what areas could you drive to, and you see individuals that are out there walking on the street that we know are probably sex workers that may not be out there of their own regard. I bet you could tell me the street.
I know you can. I know Justin can tell us the street.
Just tell me police.
Not at all.
It's not
Not at all. There we go. There we go. And I'm not at all, Justin. I like to give them a hard time. But
no,
you
Justin
know,
kind of
you know
looks
what
like
I mean.
that.
I mean, the point is, you know, we've been doing this for how many decades, and what has changed? What has changed? What has changed? We still know, we all three of us, very honest, and anybody out there watching, if you're in Houston or you're in Harris County and you're gonna say, I don't know the Bissonnettes, I don't know those streets, I mean, we're not being honest with yourself. So again, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But what we do intend to do is, even though we're saying, hey, we're gonna decline to prosecute certain offenses, we do intend to include a hyperlink on our district attorney's website where we will be tracking the charges, the arrests, the type of cases. We want to track by ethnicity. We want to track by race. We want to track by age and socioeconomic status and sexual orientation, and just say, okay, like I said from the very beginning, we want to be evidence-driven. In a year, if we find that there's been absolutely no change, then okay, we need to try something different. But if we go in a year and we have the data and the statistics to show, oh wow, our numbers have gone down, our numbers have actually gone up on arresting and convicting traffickers, our numbers have gone up on the people that we're arresting and convicting for these sexual violent offenses or these offenses against children, well, now we know something's right's been done, right?
I think that's a good idea. Focus on the traffickers and focus on the things that really need to be, rather than wasting resources in other places.
Right.
So on misdemeanor side.
But on that though, because one thing that I've seen, I've got a lot of clients I'm representing who are charged with prostitution right now, and the reason I have a lot is because I can't move the cases because the assistant district attorneys in the human trafficking division, every time I see them, they're like, so does she want to sit down with our investigator and like give a statement? And I'm like, I don't know what y'all are saying even happened in the case.
Right.
This case is 9 months old.
Right.
The offense report is the only thing I have, and at the end of it, the officer writes, I uploaded the audio recording to the database. Where is that audio recording? Because when I go talk to my client, she says, I didn't do what they're saying I did.
Right.
So how am I going to sit down with somebody who say, when they're saying, I didn't do what they say I did, and like, well, okay, we're not even talking about that.
Right.
They just want to talk to you and see if you know anything and you want to flip on somebody else. I can't build a rapport with a client to trust me enough to sit down with me and trust that I got their back if things go sideways in that interview.
Right.
So, and the district attorneys keep telling me, we just haven't gotten it from the police officer. We just haven't gotten it from HPD. So, you can't control HPD.
Correct.
So how do you, I can't recommend my client take one of these offers in the human trafficking program if I don't know that there's even a case that can be made. And so if there's something going on the streets with the officers, and I'm not saying that there is, but if there is, will some kind of a diversionary program or something like that, sounds like you're maybe talking about, still be able to address and find the real issues?
The underlying issues, as far as
if they really are prostituting themselves, or if this is some misunderstanding with something else, and why they're doing this, and to actually make change.
Yeah, I think, again, to answer your question, if we're saying we're going to decline to prosecute, that means it's taking it out of a criminal aspect, right? And so we would be teaming with these outreach programs for individuals who are actually trained to deal with individuals who are maybe victims of human trafficking or are out there because they choose to be out there. I know there was one individual in particular who was a victim of human trafficking, and she said, look, Audia, she said, nobody, and this is her perspective where I heard the other end too, and she said, hey, nobody chooses to go out there and do sex work. There is some kind of form of pimp or somebody that's out there that's violently coercing them to do that. But that was her experience. Whereas on the far end, I've had somebody else say, hey, no, I went out there and I chose to do that. That was the line of work I decided to do, you know, and that was the way I made my living, and I used my money and I invested it in some way, and I eventually got out of it. So I think we need to have individuals who are trained in that field. And you know, unfortunately, police officers, just like they're not trained to deal with mental health issues, just like the Harris County Jail is not a facility that's trained to deal with drug addiction or trained to deal with mental health issues, they are not the group of individuals who are trained to deal with people who may be victims of human trafficking. That's going to take community organizations that we've already started talking to, and to really get to the root cause. And I don't think continuing to victimize the victim. I mean, your own clients that are coming there for 9 months at a time. I think what people don't realize, when you're coming in there every single month, literally you get there at what, 8 a.m., they have to be there at 8 a.m. You want to make sure your bond doesn't get forfeited. Hopefully you have a good attorney that shows up on time. If not, I've seen people linger in court till 3 or 4. You've missed a whole day of work, you know, which is the same reason that a lot of these people are in these situations in the first place, is lack of money, right? And I think it's difficult for people who may come from a certain background to understand that. Well, when you miss an 8-hour shift because you're sitting in court for a charge for something you haven't been convicted of, and then you have on the other end someone's like, well, no, I got to wait and see. You know, this is, people are losing money, they're losing their livelihood, and you're really setting them back further than they were when they came in. So again, to answer your question, no, I don't know diversionary program. We will use counselors who are trained in that specific area. We will use facilities and programs to offer them the solution to getting themselves back on their feet if they so choose to, or if they are a victim. We will give them those solutions or give them access to those resources, but we won't be criminalizing it.
So it seems like you're, okay, not prosecuting marijuanas. I'd imagine that if somebody rolls through with like 100 pounds of marijuana.
Well, that's not possession.
Oh,
So,
okay, you're talking about possession.
yeah,
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Personal use, personal use.
100
No,
pounds.
I'm
right.
kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so I guess in misdemeanors, you're going to be left with DWIs, BMVs, assault family members, and some thefts. Do you see yourself implementing any programs through there? And if so, what? So, for example, we have DWI diversion program, retail theft program. Do you plan on continuing those types of things? And if so, or changing them, if so, what would they be? And you brought up a very good point. The cleaning, like the cleaning green that we have here and these kind of things, right, they just seem more
I think that's horrible.
It is horrible.
I think that's horrible. I mean, I think if anybody knows anything about slavery and where it began, and then you transcend to the convict leasing system, that's literally what we have with the cleaning green. It's disgusting.
Wait. Actually, you have to pay $240.
Yeah, to be part of the
cleaning. To be able to go do 6 hours of volunteer work. 6
hours of volunteer work in the areas of the community that haven't been historically destroyed by our criminal justice system.
Right, the
right?
bayou.
Right, you're going to the areas that are typically the areas that can afford it, you know, the people that are living there, and you know, and that's not a knock. That's honest, you know, that's what it is. So, you know, we don't, if you're going to say you're going to decriminalize something, right, which is what our current district attorney said, I'm going to decriminalize possession of marijuana. That's not decriminalizing. That's holding something over someone's head and saying, hey, if you go work, I thought it was working for free. Yeah, that's something new. I didn't know it was $240 to enter that program. And then do community service to clean up an area of town that is has not historically continued to be destroyed and targeted by our criminal justice system. I think is disgusting. What we do intend to do, to answer your question, yes, I think a lot of those programs are great and they were implemented way before the current district attorney. But what I will change for sure is having a no-fee diversion program. I think we have so many diversion programs now that have fees associated, and I know for a fact your clients cannot afford to get in there. We had a theft by check program that when I initially started.
My favorite.
Okay, there you go. We had a theft by check program, and anybody that's watching, if you are a practicing attorney in the criminal courts, you know or just a regular human being, if you are writing a check that's bad, that means you're essentially writing a check that bounces, right? Because you have what, $0 in your account, or you don't have enough to cover, what you're trying to pay for, and then you're then charged, right? Because you committed a crime. You're charged, you go to court, and they're like, oh, okay, no problem, but to enter this program, it's going to be another $200, $150, $240, whatever the cost is. I was told there was a cost to even get into the program.
Yeah, and then there's costs when you're in the program.
There's a cost when
and you still have to pay back the money that you couldn't afford because your check bounced in the first place.
Right.
And what's the biggest check y'all have ever seen in a theft by check case?
Oh, God, like $350, something at Fiesta or Kroger.
And most of them are, where are they all written?
At the grocery store. At the grocery store. And these are people that are trying to eat, trying to survive. That doesn't make it right.
Sure,
but what it says is that
I don't have any money.
I don't have the money. I have to feed myself. I need to eat. And yes, I did something illegal, but I don't have the money to pay to get myself out of this unless you give me the opportunity to.
And
the theft by check program, real quick, the last I saw, which was last week or earlier this week, the theft by check diversionary program costs more than the retail theft diversionary program.
Yeah,
and has more that comes with it. So that means that if I'm hungry and I need food, if I walk into Kroger and I steal something from Kroger by putting it in my shirt and walking out, it costs me less money to get that case dismissed than if I go, you know what, I'm gonna sign my name so, you know what, they can find me. Right. Maybe you're thinking they can find me and I can pay back the bounce check I'm about to write. Because you have to be guilty of this, you have to know you don't have the money when you write the check.
Exactly.
And you know what, at least I'll stand there, I'll sign my name, I'll give them my driver's license number and my current address, and then I'll take the thing that I can survive and eat without actually having the money for it. That program, to get that case dismissed, will cost me more money by doing it that way.
It's insane. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, there's return check fees.
Exactly.
Then there's DA office administrative fees. And I'm like,
wild.
It is wild.
The check was for $13 and all the fees are four times that much.
$400.
Sorry.
Let me ask you this.
Take my soapbox.
Let me ask you something else. Let me change gears for a second.
Okay.
You are married to District Court Judge Deshaun Jones.
Yes.
One of the big questions that's on everybody's mind is if you are the elected district attorney.
Yes.
You will obviously have 100, 200 cases in there. I don't know how big a felony docket is in your husband's court now, in Judge Jones's court. Right. Is that a conflict? Is it not a conflict? And have you checked it out? And what says you about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I checked it out. We definitely checked it out before I even got started running. There is no conflict of interest whatsoever. Again, the district attorney is a role that's an executive leadership role. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's almost 0.001% chance that the district attorney is ever in court, and if they are, it's probably a photo op. But this is never anything that I would actually be practicing in front of him or presenting a case in front of him. All of the cases, the things that I'm handling are policies and procedures, internal structure, what's going on in the district attorney's office, what cases are we going to accept, going out there representing the district attorney's office, making sure that we're able to recruit and retain good prosecutors, making sure that we're doing what's in our power to represent everybody in the community, and that's a fair and equitable system. So to answer your question, no, there is no conflict. Yes, we checked it out with counsel, it's something where, again, if I was a practicing prosecutor at that time, then there were cases I was going to have to recuse myself of because I would have literally been handling, let's say, trying a case in front of him or presenting facts and evidence in front of him, and there could be deemed some type of conflict of interest. But because I'm so far removed, there is no conflict.
Let's talk. We have about 3 minutes left.
You said there could be deemed some kind of conflict.
Well, if I was practicing.
So you're not just sitting here saying Deshaun's going to always rule in your favor if you're practicing in front of him?
You're saying Judge Jones?
Judge
no,
Jones.
Absolutely not. Listen, if anybody, and I've heard, some floating around like, hey,
no,
he's
I know.
a great
That's
judge.
the funny thing. I think that my wife would overrule me more than she would
he would absolutely overrule me more. No, but he is, the way he is on the bench is literally the way he is off the bench, and a man of stature, a man of his word, integrity, just literally. I mean, this is my thing. This is what I tell people. Just go check the numbers. Check the numbers and make sure people are standing on what they say they stand on. And I knew that when I married him. So.
Well, and this is, honestly, I know you and Judge Jones somewhat personally, and y'all's kids, they're going to grow up with nothing but integrity as role models.
Thank you.
Both of y'all are, So that was tongue in cheek what I was
I
just saying
appreciate
about Judge Jones and you, and I didn't mean any disrespect by
No,
calling him
not
by
at
his
all.
first name. But yeah, y'all are a power couple, and
Well, and I think that I do think that intimidates a lot of people. That some people see y'all's climb through the ranks, and y'all have great work product, and people see y'all as a power couple, and I think that does intimidate some individuals. I do, but I do from the courthouse. I think each of y'all's work speaks for yourself, speaks for itself. I do.
absolutely.
I think,
Well, thank
and if it was something different, if I thought that you had ulterior motives. Nobody ever says y'all have ulterior motives.
Yeah, I was like, you know,
Nobody
they're
ever says that, but they
absolutely-
always say like power couple. Like,
Yeah.
well, it's like, well, they're both kind of badass, so you know.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think at the end of the day, it's just, you have things where people intentionally go after things, in no way, shape, or form do I need anybody to call me anything. Power couple, a badass girl, but I guess at the end of the, and I get it, it's going to come along with it, but, at the end of the day, I think both of us are, I know, speaking for myself, very much set on there are some serious issues that we have in our criminal justice system.
Absolutely.
And having seen it firsthand, it literally is only because I was a prosecutor. I remember meeting you on like
Yeah.
the second day I was there
Yeah.
and having attorneys just be like, I hope you don't change. I hope you don't change like some of the other ones. And maybe, when I left, I was the same person I was from day one. I was very honest. I made sure I stuck to that. And I just think there are things that I can bring to the office that we need to change.
You got 30 seconds. What are you telling everybody that's watching?
30 seconds. We have a system that has disproportionately destroyed our communities. What we've done over the last 50 years, our crime rates have literally decreased and our incarceration rates have increased. We spend $130 million a year running the largest mental health facility in the state of Texas, which is the Harris County Jail. Things need to change. We need new leadership. We need people that are going to get in there on the internal structure. We have a district attorney who essentially has kept leaders in there that have done some very bad things to the people that work there. We have a district attorney who promised to support cash bail reform, and when she got in there, she completely did a 180 and said she no longer trusts the judges that have been elected, all the Democratic judges that have been elected. She was the only Democrat to side with all the Republicans and oppose the cash bail reform. So it literally is time for change. We have to change it for the good of the community. We have to change it for the good of the Harris County District Attorney's Office, get it back on solid ground, make sure that we have individuals who feel like they can thrive and grow in the District Attorney's Office, and then leave there and be productive practicing members of our bar. Go out there and be a defense attorney and handle your own business and know that you can look people in the eye when you're in the office and when you're out of the office, when you have a badge and when you don't. We know there's a lot of people who get the badge and they'll say one thing and act one way, and then you see them out in public and they're like a completely different person. Be the same person at all times. We want to foster that type of growth. We want to foster that type of behavior. And again, you can find us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Audia4DA. That's AUDIA. FORDA, or online at www.audiajones.com, and that's AUDIA Jones, JONES.com. We always are very open. I've had attorneys come out and ask questions. We have a learning luncheon coming up next Friday. We'll be at Blambascotti. We will be talking about ending human trafficking here in Harris County. So if you have more questions, I am very accessible. You can come out. I'll answer questions. I'm very honest, and that's all you're going to get when you talk to me. So.
That's all I've ever gotten.
Ladies and gentlemen, the inspiring, the one and only Audia Jones.
Thank you.
Yes.
Running for the Harris County District Attorney's Office on the Democratic side. Justin, any last words?
No, this is great.
Yeah, I think so. I think next week, District Attorney Kim Ogg is coming on, and the following week, candidate Carvana Cloud's coming on. So if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, don't forget about us here at HCCLA, the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association. For Justin Harris and myself, the board, and all of us here around, we'd like to thank you for watching. Thank you to our special guest, Audia Jones.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you
you.
guys.